There we go. There's the Ruby we know and love. That's Ruby doing her thing. Hello. Hi, Chelsea. How you doing? Good to see you. Different place. I'm at a little dog park today. Check this out. Lots of people, lots of dogs. Fun, fun, fun. This is a totally different place that I come to that's not the usual. I had to go to the doctor today for something. Did anybody just see the live that I was on by any chance? If you did, let me know. It was, I tell you, sometimes having to eat crow is no fun. I did to a point. Just to let you know, Psycha. Listen. In fairness, listen. It's, I put it. You want to know I fucked up. I really did. I did some stupid shit, and I sincerely wanted to tell the people that were pissed that I am sorry. So whenever I screw something up, I want to try to make it right. We all do stupid shit. The worst thing I think we can do is just ignore it and just act like whatever, dude. That's not me. And I don't want to upset or hurt anybody ever in my life. And if I do something stupid that does, I want to own it and apologize. And that's what I tried to do. Now, I stayed a little longer than I probably would have normally, but I wanted to give people a chance to speak their mind, which I think is fair. But it did get a little bit excessive when it comes to Nicholson wanting a loyalty pledge to Israel, wanting me to say those words. I can't do that. And I try to make my points as delineated as I can without showing any favoritism or mean spiritedness. But on Twitter, as I mentioned earlier when I spoke to them, it kind of brings out the worst of people, I think, and me too. And I've been a certain way on Twitter that I don't want to be in terms of how I communicate. I want to be positive. I want to be upbeat. I want my criticism to be fair and measured, but not mean spirited, right? And I would say that some of the stuff I did was borderline mean spirited, which is then misinterpreted as anti Semitic. And I understand that point of view. And I've seen a lot of people do that vis a vis Palestinians, and I don't like it. And I'm sure they don't like it when I do it. So I just decided to deactivate that sucker because it wasn't bringing out the best in me. And, it is what it is. Now, obviously, when things happen in life, you got to deal with it and you got to, grow and learn from it. So as I said on there, I'm working through it with a therapist, and I'm doing some reading and trying to better understand that whole process to get to the bottom of that kind of stuff. I think that's all we can do is try, right? Make a sincere effort and be sincere in our how we approach it. That's what I try to do. And as you can tell, a lot of people probably expect more out of me. I like to say, I've said this many times, if you follow me long enough, I'm going to say or do something that's going to piss somebody off. Because when you have strong views and you speak out on stuff, you're going to make a lot of quote unquote enemies. Because people, I got to tell you, I mean, the guy said something during the live. He said, if we wanted to come get you, we could, is what he said. I'm like, damn, I don't want to hear that shit. But listen, if you've watched me for a while, if you're new here, you may not know what the hell. But I really go out of my way to be respectful to people. I really don't hate anybody. That's the God honest truth. If there was a way to have a Neuralink, that thing that Elon Musk is working on, where you put something up against your head and people can read your thoughts, you can't hide who you are long term, right? It's going to come out, and so there must be some stuff in me because that shit wouldn't have come out otherwise. But I would say this: I think if people were to read the Neuralink data dump from me, they would probably scratch it and go, "Okay, I kind of see where that could be coming from." Not that it justifies it, right? So anyway, that is what it is. Somebody says, "How do you unfollow?" It's very simple, Jude and Peck. You go to my main screen, and there's a plus, a little thing to the right below my bio. It has like a little person with a plus sign, or you just have to tap that button once. It'll unfollow somebody. So that's all you got to do. No, it's okay, Tony. I'm not doing that again. That was a one-time thing. Somebody says, please don't go on the pro-Zionist lives. Go. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not hiding from anything. I've been accused of hiding. I'm not hiding from shit. I'm not going anywhere. I did go to other people and ask them questions because I think that's fair to do. I got some advice. I wanted to see how other people felt because I'm not an inconsiderate prick. And they said, "Listen, that was bad, but we need somebody of your background speaking to this, and so that's more important. So keep talking." That's the God honest truth. That's exactly what I did. I think that's the right thing to do in situations like this. You ask around and you say, "Hey, what do you think?" So anyway, I know my heart. I know where I'm at. I don't always express it the way I should. I'm not going to be doing those kind of things anymore because it doesn't serve any good purpose. It just brings out the worst in those little back and forths on Twitter. So, and maybe I'll get back to it at a point when I'm able to not unleash that kind of BS. But for now, that's what's going to be. Somebody says that's a feeling and privilege, and you accomplish yourself and have nothing to lose or hide. Uh, yeah, I mean, listen. I think like I know a lot of people with whom I disagree. Or like, there's a guy named Lucas Gage, and there's a guy named Nick Fuentes, and there's a guy named Jackson Hinkle. Very controversial people. They've said and done things I don't agree with, but they've also said things that I think make a lot of sense. Alex Jones is another guy. I'm not some fringe lunatic that's like always on that side of things. I try to look at the pros and cons of everything and not be, I don't have a litmus test for perfection for people. I always relate this to the vegan movement. If you know what vegan is, it's people who refrain from eating animal foods and they don't use any other animal products. They don't go to circuses. Anything that's exploitative of animals, they reject. So I've had people I've known in the movement, and I'm not a perfect vegan. I have like a couple of leather belts going back to like 20 years ago that I haven't thrown away. You're not supposed to have any animal products. And the way I look at it is, if I'm 99.8% vegan and someone else is 0%, 99.8 is a lot better than zero if you're trying to convince people to do stuff. And so I don't have a litmus test of perfection for anybody. And I think that I don't know. Some people now it's weird nowadays, especially among younger people. I'm 56, right? That's my dog, by the way. There's a different approach. People have this standard that if you ever cross a line, that's it, you're done, end of story. That's not me. That's not how I think. But I can understand if others do. That's fair. And by the way, they kept saying on the live that you're demanding forgiveness, or I'm not demanding or expecting it. I never tell people what to think or do. If you noticed in my lives, yeah, I have strong views, but I never say that you should think this or you have to believe this or what. That's up to you. What you do and what people do in response to something like this is up to them. It's a personal thing. And some people are really pissed, and some people are like, "Yeah, it sucks," but and I understand all that. It's okay. So I don't want to beat a quote unquote dead horse. But I don't do this. By the way, I've had my motives impugned a lot. So let me tell you the God honest truth. I mean, this is there's no reason to even. I'm doing this not because I'm trying to pick sides. I've even said my most recent video said, "What if the script was flipped?" Literally, I've said this over and over again. So they accuse me of hating Jewish people. They accuse me of being a narrative seeker. No, no. I see this as one group of people got the wrong end of a bad deal. I mean, I always if you were in 1948 and your family got kicked off your land for no reason, how the hell would it make you feel? So I think it's fair to be against that and be against what happened to people in the Holocaust, right? You're always advocating for people to get harmed and dispossessed and exploited. Now, as Nicholson mentioned, fair enough, there are other plights around the world. Why do I focus so much on this one, right? I'm happy to focus on the others. I really am. I like talking about anything where I think there's an interesting geopolitical set of dynamics. I'm not always critical of it. I just talk about what's in play, right? I don't take sides on that either. I put things in their context and I try to be fair about how I analyze it. And I'm not going to get it right every time. And when I screw up, again, I just adjust based on what I find out. If somebody knows something I don't, great, let me hear it. If there's evidence that shows what happened on the 7th that I've never been able to corroborate, great, bring it on. I'll look at it. I don't want to look at stuff like that, but I'll at least verify and corroborate what the factual evidence shows. That's fair. And if there's no evidence, it's fair to doubt it, or at least not say you're not sure. And you're not a bad person because you don't immediately take someone else's side, which I was being pretty much told I had to do today to kind of get out of jail. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not saying, and I don't want someone else to say Palestine will be free from the river to the sea to meet my expectations. And I don't want to say, whatever that thing statement is that people say all the time to promote the solidarity and survival of people in their nation state. What I do say is I'm against any people being harmed. I think that's fair to say. And I think we should all have that in front of our minds. So that's what I did. And I think it was the right thing to do. Now, people may disagree. Somebody says, don't go on those lives, whatever. I will say this, and just to be fair is fair. The last time I was on there, I got treated like shit, like the last 2 times. But this time, I got to say, people said their piece. I didn't necessarily agree with what Nicholson was saying, but he did it I think he did it in a pretty reasonable way. I appreciated that. When it started to get to the point where they wanted loyalty pledges and other demands, I said, I didn't have a chance to bow out gracefully. I just kind of bowed out. But I wasn't running and wasn't being afraid. I think I was on there for a good 25 minutes, I think. So I think that's fair to do. You fuck up, you own it, you move on. Hopefully you put the right feet in front of the other and you live your life as best you can. And I'll probably make other mistakes. That's the sad part because I am a jackass sometimes, right? It's just the way it is. All right, enough said about that. So I don't know what's going on right now. The good news is Mansour, I don't know if you know today, I heard this. Mansour Showman, who's one of the most well-known journalists from Gaza, reemerged today. and he was not being held captive by the Israelis as people thought, or at least maybe he was. Maybe he was released in high. I didn't hear the exact full story, but he's around. He did a video out here. I haven't seen it because I've been very busy with some other things today, including doing a live. But I want to see it. Uh, well, someone says I missed it. I see how they were being rude towards the end. I wouldn't call it rude. I would call it, you know, asking me to say things that are, I think, inappropriate in those particular circumstances. Listen, if somebody said something really shitty about Palestinians and they came on to apologize on a live, I'd be like, that's really cool. Thanks for doing that, man. That shows a lot of character. I'm not going to say then they have to say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. No, because they may not believe that. They may have a different point of view and they don't believe Palestine should have from. Okay, fair enough. That's your view. So I don't believe in putting people in a position where they have to make like loyalty pledges to make up for something or whatever the hell it is. That's a different way of doing things. It's not my way, and I said no because of that. Great. I'm glad Mansour had his thing. That's great. The H group has also responded to the ceasefire agreement. Yeah, tell me what happened. I'm curious to hear. Riri. Yeah, Riri. Thanks for telling me that. Oh, by the way, I want to make one general housekeeping comment. I got two different messages from different people who said they were muted in chat. I've not muted anybody in the chat unless somebody starts coming up with all this other stuff that relates to the, that sideshow that I got involved in, which I don't want to have that be the conversation. But if there are mods that are muting people, I think the standard set, and maybe they did bad things, but I think the standard should be someone has to really be doing some stupid shit to get muted. Even if they're saying like, Palestinians suck or, Palestine should never, whatever it is, let them say that. It's fair. But if they're saying like really horrible things, then yeah, sure, mute them. That's what it is. But I don't know. I asked both people who messaged me, why were you muted? What did you say when you got muted? And when was it? They didn't say when or what. Anyway, listen, I'm not going to disparage the people that were on this. I don't like it when people bring out their worst side, myself included, and when people are mean to each other. I think that's unnecessary. And I've done a video about this. It is unfortunately far too prevalent. At least in my observation, I've been on both Palestinian lives and I've been on pro-Israel lives, and I think the flavor, the feel, the method with which people choose to communicate is much less pleasant on the pro-Israel lives. But that's just an observation from my limited experience being on different ones, and I try to be as fair as I can and not treat people with disdain and force their point of view. I try to listen. I disagree a lot of times with people, like I did today, and I don't know. We all have a take. Like I said, I've never heard somebody come up and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. Let me tell you what I think about this. And by the way, I'm totally wrong. Everyone thinks they're right. No, I'm not. I'm not saying today. Listen, today I'm getting to give credit to the folks that ran the live today, New York City Joe and to Mr. Avocado, or his name is Nicholson. I thought they were fair. I mean, I got to call it what it is when I see it. First of all, I told them that before I came on, I was just watching and listening, that they were doing a decent job. And when someone's doing a decent job and not doing that other crazy stuff, you gotta say good job. That's good. That's the way it should be. And they were taking turns and giving people a chance. People weren't interrupting or shouting over each other. That's all I really ask for. Even if somebody says something I don't like or they say something critical of me, fair is fair. People can be critical. I have to have thick enough skin because I'm sort of I guess you call it a public persona on this platform. I'm not very well known anywhere else, thank goodness. Because losing your anonymity is a weird thing. Like I went to the pro-Palestine rally about a month ago or whatever it was, 3 weeks back, and I had so many people like say, "Hey, Chip, how you doing?" I'm like, I had no idea who I was even talking to. So anyway, I think in fairness, I thought they were straightforward, and I thought they were fair in terms of how they allowed me to respond and get what I had to say out, which I thought was the right thing to do, and that's that. It's done behind us. So for now, and the rest of it's the work, right? I think that it's not so much what somebody stumbles; it's what they do afterwards that matters to me. So we'll see. I know Bill Maher said something on his show a while back that was, was a total storm, and then he had a guest. I think it was Ice Cube that came on, and they kind of went through a process. And anyway, it is what it is. But so I'm not going to make claims about that. Listen, I got to say this, and I said this to Joe on a human level. Most of us go through other people's video libraries when we look at stuff. And remember, in the end, we're trying to find a way to coexist, right? No matter how much you dislike somebody, if you can find a way to peacefully coexist, that's the idea, right? That's the whole point of all of this. We can't lose sight of the fact that that's the goal. And you can dislike somebody but respect their territory. So I looked through his videos and I saw he had his wife and one. They went to like a spa day, and he was out driving with his kids. I think he has three girls and a boy. They're all probably under the age of 10, or they're probably like between 13 and 9 or something. And they look like they're having. And listen, he has a beautiful family. So that's why I just messaged him and said, "Hey Joe, I just want to tell you, you have a really beautiful wife and family." And he said, "Thanks." That was a connection on a human level. That's what we need. We need that because everybody's got the same thing on both sides, right? That's it. So I can be kind to somebody and still disagree with them wholeheartedly. I don't want to hate anybody. That's the point. And I understand where the hatred comes from on both sides, because when somebody gets unalived in your family or friends, it's hard not to be really angry and hateful. But the point is of this whole conflict is, as long as the Israelis choose to perpetuate what they're doing, it's not all their fault, but I think that the decision to keep pushing harder and harder on Palestinians and continuing to unalive more and more people, kind of in a punitive sense, makes it worse. Because for every one person you unalive, a father, a mother, a brother, whatever it may be, people get angry, like I just talked about, and then they vow to, unfortunately, direct their anger towards, and it doesn't end. It never goes away, and neither does the harm that's caused by losing somebody on both sides. I think that's fair to talk about. Anyway, yeah, and unfortunately, here's what I think should happen. This is what should happen. The Israelis should turn over all the settlements in the West Bank, turn the whole territory over, the pre-1967 borders, to the Palestinians and Gaza, fully withdraw, and have international security agreements that guarantees the safety of the people of Israel in their territory as is. And listen, I know it sucks to some who want to see Palestine reclaim, people who are Palestinian, get back to where things were in 1948. I understand that. And it wasn't perfect, but it was a lot. People didn't lose their homes, right? But let's face it, just like our country took the Native Americans out and took over North America, and we stole property from Mexico and other places, this is what empires do. This is what conquests are. People do crazy shit. I don't understand the mindset. But it is what it is. So I think that's in the books, as hard as it sounds to agree to that. Even the H group recognized that in their 2017 revised charter, that's probably what the best outcome is going to be for everybody. That needs to happen, though, and that's not going to happen because they don't want to dismantle the settlements and they don't want to turn them over. They have 700,000 plus people there. It's just an impractical situation. So there's kind of a no-win situation right now for Palestinians. You can't have a one-state solution because the Israelis won't allow that. They don't want to have any Arabs even close to a majority. And on top of that, they don't want to dismantle their settlements. So what do you do then? Well, one thing you don't do is continue to bomb and unalive people at record rates and say you're going after the quote-unquote enemy when you're really not. That's what you don't do. And unfortunately, that's creating a bad situation for Israel, even if you're pro-Israel, which I'm not. But if I were, I would counsel the Israeli government, hey, dude, you're not doing yourself any favors by taking this path. You're becoming an international pariah more so than you were before because people didn't know any better. And you had a relatively, under the radar stance when it comes for people not knowing about this. And now that's all blown up. And now people are angry at Israel across the world. And I think rightly so because of what they're doing. I think they understand that what happened on 10/7 was horrible. And for those Israelis and hostages involved, it's horrible. And I think people had a lot of sympathy for Israel, much like they did after 9/11 for the United States. Very similar. But what the Israelis chose to do after that was to completely destroy any of that goodwill. And now they've completely soured the apple. And look what's happening. You got an International Court of Justice action that's probably going to lead to guilty findings at some point if they take it through its natural course with U.S. complicity. Now, that's bad for both countries, right? To have this reputation of being involved directly in genocide. I mean, that's bad, right? And I think any country, if they had half a lick of sense, you don't want to be on the other end of that because that just leads to nothing but bad. Nothing good comes from that, right? Can I turn off the big forehead filter? It's really distracting. I don't have a big forehead filter. It's just my big ass forehead. If that's a joke, that's a good joke. I like it. No, I don't have a filter. There's no filter. This is just, unfortunately, this is the reality of how my head is formed. Take it or leave it. As Quinn would say, if you don't like it, swipe on. He uses swipe the F on. I'm not going to say that to you. Anyway, so we have somebody by the name of Country JEW who wants to come up and speak. And I tell you what, I take all guests with minor exceptions if they're exceptionally mean or rude or say really bad things. Let me bring this guest up. I do want to just one request I make before I bring this guest up. This goes for every guest. Happy to hear what you have to say. I ask that we take a breath at some point, both of us, and let the other person respond. instead of making, let's say, 5, 6, 7 points, which I know a lot of people have their head full of stuff they want to get out. I'll let you get it all out. Let's do like maybe 1 or 2 points and have a little bit of a dialogue. If that's so, welcome.
Oh, hey, thanks for having me. No, I'm not gonna
Sure.
say a lot. So I keep getting a loading signal. Hopefully you can still hear
Yeah,
me.
I can hear you just fine. Yeah. If
Okay.
you
Yeah, it's
can
like
you
you
hear
to
me?
tell
Okay.
me
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
no, I can hear you fine. I can
Okay,
hear
we're
you
good to
good.
go.
I
I
can
think.
hear you good.
I
I'm
I
trying
think we're
to
good. Please come on and say what you want. Oh, a little bit of a
okay.
dog.
So oh, they'll get it. Okay,
I'm in a
so
dog
my
park. So
question for you is this. I
yeah,
Yeah, no, I love dogs. Okay, my question for you is this. I heard your apology about, the previous racist comments, and I do think like I agree with you when you're coming to talk about these types of things. It's important that you're not coming from a place of hate. So, I just have a
yeah,
lot of concern like when you say that you don't wish harm upon Jewish people, but then you're making
yeah.
comments like making fun of, a young Jewish boy that got like pushed around at a pro-Palestinian rally and you say,
No.
you're a P word and they barely touched you, and hopefully one day you'll have a chance to meet the H group. Like, if you tweet something like that, how is the
That seems
Jewish
a little bit. I'm
community
not sure what you're talking.
supposed? Uh,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're referencing there. I don't remember
I'm
anything
I'm
like that. That's
referencing a tweet that I'm referencing a tweet, a response to a tweet on your account that you wrote that. And so my question for you is like, how is the Jewish community supposed to be able to engage with you and take your word that you don't wish us harm
I don't.
when you okay, so why did you say that you hope that why did you call a young Jewish kid a P word, P-U-S word, and say that you hope he gets to meet the brave freedom fighters?
Well, one of the points I try to raise, in fairness, there's been a lot of talk about the rise of anti-Semitism, which is bad. And I think that nobody for just their own group should ever be targeted for anything, especially with violence, but even words as well. And I did a bad job in some cases of other things. I did a really bad job in some cases, which is fair to criticize. In this case, I don't remember it exactly, but I'm going to go from memory as best I can. I'm imagining that the person was complaining about being intimidated by somebody or whatever the case may be. I don't remember the exact circumstances or the language of the actual
I
tweet.
mean, I'm showing it on my screen if you want to read it and speak to what you actually said.
No, that's okay.
If you
What I
don't
want to
want to do
focus on.
that, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine. I
what I want to
assumed that you
let
wouldn't
me
want to.
tell you let me tell you what I want to focus on, and this is the important thing.
Hmm.
You can believe it or not believe it, but I would
Hmm.
say in 99.9% of the circumstances when these issues come up and they've been discussed in their context about this conflict and other things, I've made it really clear to delineate the following. And this is how I really feel inside. I really don't have any hate for anybody. There's not even the people involved. I've said some stupid shit in response to people under whatever was going on at the time I was reading other stuff. I don't remember the mindset in which it happened. I don't want to convey any hate towards anybody. But what I do say, I go out a painstaking way for people who watch me to go out of my way to delineate the following. I say that there are basically, in my understanding, I kind of look at three groups of people who identify as Jewish, and this is mostly in Israel, but it can also be around the world. You have people that are Orthodox, that believe in the teachings of the Torah, and they tend to be against having a state formally because of their religious beliefs, and they're against the occupation and everything that happens vis-a-vis Israel Palestine. I've interviewed a rabbi named Israel David Weiss about this issue, and we talked about it on one of my videos. I was at the pro-Israel protest in D.C. or rally, and I happened to run into the rabbi, and we talked. So that's why I got the interview. So there's that. Then I think there are a lot of secular people who aren't super religious, but they identify as Jewish and they support Israel and they want security for Israel, but they're not super right. And then you have the more conservative or right-wing aspects of society that identify as sort of ultra-Zionist, and you can be a Zionist, by the way, and support the basic tenets of Judaism, of an ethnic state in historic Palestine and have a safe home for Jewish people. I'm not against that aspect of Palestine, of Zionism, excuse me. What I'm against is the expansionist nature of it and the harsh and cruel nature of how it implements itself, not only with what happened in 1948, which I don't believe politically now will change, but I feel badly for those who ended up on the short end of that stick, and not because they're Palestinian or Arab or because Jewish people did it or whatever you want to call it. I understand Zionism to be a political movement that designed to have a nation state for Jewish people, which I think is laudable. Where and how it happened is the part that I find difficult because of the harm it caused to others. That's the only driving reason behind the criticism. And in this case, I want to make sure that people understand that just like in my country, our government does a ton of bad stuff around the world that I believe is reprehensible and needs to stop, but it continues. I don't hate the American people that I criticize my government and the people within the government that drive these policies. I think that's worthy of criticism because it causes great harm to others. But I try to make that distinction. I don't always do it very well, and sometimes I say some things that are snarky or completely insensitive, and I did that in some of my Twitter. And as I went through it, I was going through with the purpose of not hiding from stuff because I left it up for 3 more days after whatever came out. I wasn't trying to hide anything. What I did was I was just reviewing all of my replies to people's tweets. I was going down looking for the ones that were really insensitive to kind of, get rid of that stuff. So it wasn't, I mean, what kind of a jerk would I be if I didn't at least remove the crap that I did that was inappropriate, right? That'd be a real jerk. Just leave it there and say, F everybody, which is not how I feel. So one last thought, I'll let you come back. So what I'm trying to say is I realized a pattern in the way, the flavor of how I was communicating about any other issue, not just this one, and it was more negative. It wasn't the way that I normally like to communicate and be sort of straight, objective, sort of calm, kind. It was bringing out something in me that wasn't that, and I just realized this is not good for how I'm communicating, and I decided I need to put this aside and focus on a different way of communicating that's not so, whatever you want to call it, mean-spirited, confrontational, or even inappropriate. That's why I did it. But if you could have an if you had a neural if I sat down with a polygraph, if I sat down with you in a polygraph test, and I'll even pay for this, by the way. I told somebody I'd like to put a live video out with a polygraph person, and I'll pay whatever it costs, and I'll let them ask me specific questions about how I really feel. And I can guarantee you what I'm sharing with you right now is how I really feel versus the stupid way I presented it when I was on Twitter. You'll see it as clear as day because it's how I really feel inside. No, no, not wishing him harm. I was trying to. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm not saying she was treated great on the. I'm not. Yeah. Well, she just what I was pointing out was this. Okay, let me finish. Her arm was hurt by whatever happened on 10/7. I'm not saying that she was treated well with regard to that. However, she got injured. I don't know how but I would, if you're saying it was by gunfire and it was by the H group, then yeah, that's bad. Obviously, that's horrible. And she's a civilian, so she shouldn't be harmed at all. I don't know if it was intentional or if it was accidental, but either way, if they weren't doing what they were doing, she wouldn't have been harmed. I agree. Let me finish the thought. Then what I was going on though was what she said versus what she said later said. That's all I was. So well, let me let the audience know for reference. The videos in my directory. Okay, I'll be quick. I just want to make sure the audience understand. This is an important thing for them to understand. So there's a video of a young woman who was released by the H group into the Red Cross's custody. She's in a vehicle with the door open, talking to a camera person. Somebody asked her a few questions. I think it was something along the line was, "How was your experience? What happened?" or something to that degree. And she responded by saying, "Good, very kind, food good, okay," or something like that. It was very similar to that if it wasn't those exact words. That was the end of the clip. It was a very short clip. Then I saw another clip that was circulating that she was on, I believe, an Israeli TV program of some type. And there was an interview saying, "What was your experience like?" And then she'd had a completely different recollection from what she said in the Red Cross custody. Now, I was told by somebody else that the H group is giving drugs to the hostages. So when they get released, they're in a more euphoric mode, and they're not willing to look, not able or willing to say the things that really happen under that particular influence. I don't know if that's true or false. I don't know if people got drug tested or if that really happened, but It sounds weird, but maybe. But the thing I do point to is that if you look at the other hostages that have been on public forums, like the first woman who was released who was older, and she described her experience. It sounded very consistent. I saw other videos of people being handed off by the age group to others. That seemed very like everyone wasn't miserable or treated horribly. Then I saw this situation where she made one statement where she said A happened and everything was A-okay, and then she came back and said Z happened. It just seemed odd, so I pointed that out in my video. It seemed like to me like she was lying, like she was told that the better thing to do to represent your country is to say something a little more whatever. Now, that could be wrong. My interpretation could be 180 degrees off. I acknowledge that's possible. It just, with common sense and what I've seen in putting puzzle pieces together, I have to make suppositions based on that, but I may not. I may have been wrong. I admit that. That's a fair thing to point out.
Yeah, there were two, the one she was still, in the custody. The Red Cross didn't miss her. She was in the van. She was still in the custody of the age with, weapons being pointed at her. And then when she's back home, she makes another statement. So even if you were to say, well, we don't know which one is true, we could say we don't know which one is true. But that's not what you said. You said that the second one, and called her a liar, and said some disparaging remarks about that. There are, I would say, for you and for the audience, just to have the full
Yeah.
picture, there are many, 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 many testimonies now of what the conditions were like. So we don't kind of have to guess about that. And if you think that they're all liars, that's something you can stand by. But even the woman, the elderly woman at the hospital, her full interview, she said it was a nightmare and she was beaten and her husband was still held there, and he's either still passed away, here. It wasn't a safe Ritz Carl.
Yeah, I can't speak. Listen,
Well,
I have no
anyway,
reason to
I'll let
doubt.
you go. Thanks for
I
having me up. I do
Yeah,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
And I just,
Yeah.
with
Okay.
the same way that, the Black community kind of had their say, it's sort of there's a disregard for Jewish life, Jewish pain, Jewish feelings that's totally separate. Like wishing
I understand
harm
your point of
upon
view.
a young Jewish
Thank.
boy and for attending a rally.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you. Thank you. Share the point. Sure thing. Uh, there's something going on with the live. I don't know if it's my. Hopefully, this doesn't screw it up. Listen, everyone's entitled to their point of view. First of all, can you all hear me okay? I want to make sure people can hear me okay. Because I just switched over from my Wi-Fi to my cellular. Let me see. I don't even know if I can bring up. Somebody, okay, great. Thank you. And my ability to bring up guests. Let me see if I can bring up C-Tang. Okay, it's working. Okay, good. Let me answer to that. I think it's fair to talk about these things because yeah, sometimes we say things that are over the top or maybe even wrong, right? If I got that wrong, if I misinterpreted the way in which she communicated in the first interview, or what do you call it, filming, and then what she said on Israeli television, maybe she was not telling the truth in her first one. It's possible. It just seemed as if she was being genuine and telling the truth, from my perception. Maybe I could be wrong. And then in the Israeli TV, the reason I say it's lying, and it's not because I know for sure, but there is a pattern that's been established. I've been watching this thing for a long, long time. And there is a pattern that the Israeli government has established when it does, unfortunately, lie all the time. Even Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, who is the assistant to Colin Powell, chief staff, who was the Secretary of Defense for 6 years under the George W. Bush administration. And Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, I just saw a video of it like last week or so, said that in his single thing ever that the Israelis say, not one. Now that's a pretty bold statement to make from someone who is a high level, functional in the government, dealing with the Israeli military and the Israeli government. So that kind of confirms a lot of what I've been seeing. Now, can I say in every case it's not true? No, I don't know for sure. I can't corroborate or deny witness statements about what happened on 10/7, what's happened to hostages. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there. And I try to be clear about that and be fair and open-minded. But the problem is some things may not be evidentiary, right? It's going to have to be testimony. There's no camera. There's no whatever. It's witnesses. Fair enough. But there's a lot of things on camera that I do have on camera when I make points about things, like the way buildings come down, the way that the warnings aren't given. That's on camera. So it's always better when you can document something with a camera than not. But in cases where you don't, I don't know exactly what to say as far as that kind of testimony. I tend to believe in her case that somebody from the Israeli government said, "Hey, this is not good that we're saying these people are not horrible people. We need to say they're bad for the cause. Please go on TV and share your events. You had a bad time, didn't you? You were treated horribly, weren't you?" And then she went on TV. That's my best guess. I have no proof of that, but that's what it appeared to be from my perception. So again, I just have one set of eyes and ears like the rest of you do, and sometimes I'll get it wrong. Anyway, so that answers that. Okay, we do have some guests here. We have Avi Sweets, Zach and Ala and Tank. If you don't get in, just to let you know, if you're not coming up, the best thing to do is exit TikTok altogether and then come back and then re-request. That seems to clear the problem up. Yes, how are you?
I don't have long time. Just want to reply about what you're saying now.
Yep.
It's kind of weird that you have to believe what they're saying about two sides. One is the side what they're saying during the captivity or during what they have it next to the Red Cross. They didn't know if after they decided they didn't know if it's really Red Cross or just the age group playing with them. And then you have the real true when they talk in the foreign media or the Israeli media, whatever. So how you can even compare what they're saying under captivity or under they think what when they say hi to the age group members. After that, they say they make us to say hi. They make us. Even you can hear in one of the sounds, in one of the Al Jazeera sound, and they say now move your head like hi. So you cannot compare about Israeli. You all the time quote the Free Press of Israel and some other newspaper from the one side. On the other side, you say, "Oh, we don't know what happened in
It's
Israel."
it's it's okay. It's okay. She's just friendly playing. Sorry about that. My dog was playing. But
Okay, for
can I
one
just
side, you really appreciate the Israeli media and Haaretz and some other newspaper. And the other side, hey, oh, we don't know if in Israel they're saying the truth or not. Of course, if you compare people under captivity or in the way from captivity to be released, or what they're saying, where the release and the free, the Thai, there was the release Thai people, and one of the in the Thai television, the host is saying about I don't know if you hear it about they didn't have nothing to eat, so he have to eat some toilet paper in the toilet. One day they let him to go to the toilet and he make the toilet some like a bread like a flour and he eat toilet paper and a quarter of a pita bread a day. So this is not in Israeli TV. This is what in the Thai television, So how can you really compare in a T group, age group, fundamentalist Islamic groups that have, everybody know it's Islamic fundamentalist group. It's not and what they say in under free speech in CNN or Israeli TV or whatever.
yeah.
It's impossible to compare. When you compare, I don't know what is really true.
Well, let's do this. Finally, thanks for sharing your point of view. A lot of people, I tried to understand as much as I could. I know you're speaking rather quickly, and we have a different dialect or whatever. Okay, so if I understand what you were saying, though, how can there be a comparison between the age group? That there may be a supposition that they were coaching the person or somehow intimidating the person to make that statement. My understanding about that interview, and again, it was very brief, is that she was completely released from the H group and into the hands of the Red Cross. If that wasn't the case and someone who was near or behind the camera was forcing her to say something in a certain way, then obviously it changes the situation. So, but that's my understanding, which is why I made the comparison between the before and after. But again, I get things wrong sometimes. If I don't know certain portions of the facts, then it's fair to be pointed out. If that was factually different, I'm of course willing to change what I said about it. But as far as the other conditions of the hostages and stuff like that, I don't know for sure what resources were available to different people during the situation. So I know that a lot of people in Gaza alone, just to let you know in general, that people in Gaza are not. I've seen pictures of children in Gaza. Not that this is exactly, but eating grass, like brown grass that they went and pulled up somewhere because that's all they could get. I don't think it's good in any situation, whether it be a civilian or a hostage, for there not to be adequate care. It's under the rules. If you have somebody who's a POW, whether it's a soldier or a civilian captive, they need to be cared for, the basics. So food, water, shelter, clothing, maybe sanitary care for women, whatever the case may be. But under these circumstances, there may not be all the resources available to provide that care, given the nature of how things have been cut off, the lack of number of trucks coming in, things that may have been out of their control. I don't think I would guess, and again, I don't know, But I would guess because they don't want hostages who are going to be sick or unavailable for swapping to be in horrible conditions, why they would purposely mistreat them or harm them or beat them or whatever else, any other thing that would be bad. But I don't know for sure. And I don't know if anybody can do it because it probably is not filmed. And eyewitness testimony that comes from the Israeli side is just hard to stomach. And it may be totally true. But like that story from the boy who cried wolf, I don't know if you've heard this story, Avi, or if he's still there, if you're listening. But there was a story where a young guy or a boy was put out on the perimeter of their little town to say, if you see a wolf coming, because they don't want their sheep to get eaten, yell wolf really loud and we'll come out and defend the sheep. That's what he's supposed to do, like a warning, like a guard. And so as a joke, he yells wolf and all the people come running outside and they're like, where's the wolf? He's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. I made you come out. And you go back inside, and then like the next night, same thing, wolf. And he does that like 5 times. And eventually the people in the houses don't come out. They're like, and when the wolf finally does come, the sheep get eaten. You never know when the boy's crying for real. That's the point of the story. I never know when people are being coached to say one thing or if they're just saying it from the bottom of their heart and honestly. I do know that there's a very purposeful effort of the Israeli government to completely control language and narratives and the way that news gets reported. It's very purposeful and very proactive. So I just never know what to believe. And that's not a product of me being doubtful. It's a product of the pattern of behavior that's been established over many, many decades, as indicated by what I said about Colonel Wilkerson. He dealt with the Israelis on a day in, day out basis and said, you can't believe a single thing they say ever. That's a pretty strong statement from a public official.
Who is public official? What is his name?
Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. And if you'd like, I'm happy to
Lawrence
post.
is Israeli. Lawrence is not Israeli name.
No, he's an American. He's an American.
American. I don't care. I thought Israeli man because it couldn't be.
Okay, well, that's fine. You don't have to care. I'm just telling you what an American official said who dealt with the Israeli government for 6 years.
Okay, I just want to give you advice. I just want to give you advice, and it's going to help you to know better. Because really, I am usually when I got my sources, I don't usually look in one channel. I look in many channels, including Al Jazeera, and this is how I know my truth. But to give you advice how to figure if the age group is saying the truth or the Israeli government saying the truth, it's very easy because Israel have 4 channels here: 11, 12, 13, 14. Three of them, and the major one is 12, and 3 of them, including the government channel, it's 11, is sponsored by the government. 3 of them is the opposition channels to the government. And Netanyahu really hate those journalists and these channels. Really hate. If you see, I don't know if you're following the journalist conference Netanyahu have once a week with the questions people allow finally to ask him a question. So he really attacked all the journalists, telling him you are fighting with the age group, you are against me. So to say to Israeli media that she are a kind of speakers of the Israeli government, you probably don't know the media and the society here in Israel. I'm telling you honestly, there is just one channel. It's called 14. It's the right wing channel, but it's not the right wing. Politically right wing is the right wing that pro Bibi. Whatever Bibi says, they say yes. This is 14. He's one of the sponsors of. Never mind. Don't go inside politics. But 3 of the 4 major channels in Israel, they are against Netanyahu, against the government. So you never can say that Israeli media is everything happened in the government. It's bad. It's really criticize the government about everything. With the hostages, with everything. Now the media is, Netanyahu said the hostages are very bad. The hostages, what they're saying, it's bad for the government, and they don't care. Israel, it's really free country with free speech. The Haaretz newspaper, the investigation, otherwise the Palestinians say, the Haaretz newspaper says it. This is a free government, free media. So you have to believe to Israeli media. You have to believe it, Israeli media is investigated media. It's not like the Palestinian.
One sec. The link, people in the comments were saying, please give Chip a chance to answer. I'm not trying to stop you from speaking. I understand I agree with what you're saying, by the way. I agree there's a diversity. There's not just one-sided, like a state-run thing. We have that in the United States, too. Just so you know, we have a variety of media. There's only one problem with it. there's a thematic undertone that controls the narrative across the entire spectrum. So just like here, we have ones that are left-wing oriented, we have ones that are right-wing. You know, you have MSNBC, Fox, CNN, but the entire media apparatus is an undertone of propaganda, and it both comes two ways. It comes by omitting certain things, just not talking about stuff, or mischaracterizing other things. So I'll give you a great example. Ready? I'm sure that the Israeli media doesn't spend 24/7, even the ones that oppose the Netanyahu regime, of talking about the difficulties associated with the occupation and the blockade of Gaza. They're still talking from the point of view of security for Israel. Now, do they mention certain stories once in a while and criticize the government? Yes, Haaretz does that especially. But in general, except for Haaretz, the televised media in Israel is meant as a tool of running the country. Whether you believe it or not, it is the case. Same in my country. It took me a long time to figure it out, by the way. However, I will say this. Yes, I know there's a lot of hatred towards Netanyahu. I believe he wouldn't be in power right now if it wasn't for this conflict that started. He was on the edge of being, rioted out of office because people were in the streets like crazy before this kicked off. I follow Israeli politics, and the media. I understand what's going on there with that. I'm not an expert, but I know the flavor of it. So I don't think that the media was compliant in regards to this young woman. I think that she was coached and convinced by others to say something other than what happened for the benefit of her country and the mission. That's what it appears like. I can be totally wrong. But I don't think it was some conspiracy. I think it just doesn't look good to the Israeli side of things to humanize the H group members. I'm not defending what they did by a long shot. I'm not an H group defender. I don't like the fact that they divert money. I don't like the fact that they take resources from their people. I don't like the fact that they strong arm people in Gaza. I'm against all those things. But I understand the resistance element of their work, not the tactics. That's what I want to say. We've got some other guests coming up, Avi. Thank you for sharing your point of view. I know that you probably disagree with me on some of that, but you brought up good points, and I always respect somebody who can bring up good points. And we'll see where it goes. I just have a hard time believing sometimes because of just the pattern of lying. Okay, Marion speaks. Is that what it is? I can't read the rest of it. I'm sorry about not seeing your name as well.
Hello,
Hello.
Mr. Martin. I'm a U.S. citizen from Mexico. I've been living
Okay.
this for 20 plus years.
Bienvenidos.
Thank you. I'm having a hard time believing really anything that's coming up out of the media, and having a hard time believing Israel. For what I can see in the research I've been doing, they went from we didn't strike the hospitals to bomb every hospital. They went to we didn't unalive any media to unalive 80 plus press in there. They went to unaliving any civilians to we know they unaliving many children's. It's hard to believe now, and I can understand how these people feel. They were taken away for a very long period of time. That must be something horrible, correct? It's just the way that everything has been playing out, and I just don't believe it anymore. And I've been feeling that we can even speak against to anything because we can see that our videos are getting down, or we getting some kind of restrictions to speak about it. So we know that the government and the media is very controlled. So I'm just wanted to say that. And I thank you so much for your lives. I've been following you for a while. I was feeling hopeless to seeing how the country is going towards, and I'm glad they find people like you and other people that we can kind of get together and express ourselves and see how we
Yeah.
can find a solution for a better future.
Thank you. Great points. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you following me. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the whole point of all this. It's hard to, it's easy to lose sight of that sometimes, that we're all talking about this, that, all these details. That is, listen, the bottom line is A, ceasefire. B, aid to people. C, somehow make sense of all the rubble and mess that's come about, right? Try to start the repair process. And then finally, D, there needs to be a peaceful resolution. There needs to be autonomy and dignity for a people that's been subjected to a really raw deal for a really long time. I don't know how it's going to get sliced and diced. I think there's a lot of conjecture, a lot of arguments for this, that, and the other. It really seems right now, based on territory, it has to be a one-state solution because of all the settlements. But I know the Israeli side doesn't want that because it's going to give a significant Arab majority, which is going to change the entire way of life for people in Israel, which is just unacceptable. So it's a quagmire right now. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know something has to happen. If the Israelis really want peace, if they really want to have security, if they don't want rockets flying around, if they don't want to have attacks, I get it. I wouldn't want to be attacked either. I wouldn't want to have to go to a shelter every day because something's flying in the sky and the system that blocks it may not work. That's got to suck. But it can't be completely unexpected given that you're keeping your boot on another people indefinitely and causing them great harm and great stress and great agony and expect otherwise. It's just absurd in my mind. I mean, I wish they would do something differently to change the dynamics.
Can I jump in?
Okay. Not quite yet.
Okay,
Other people would. Yeah, just one sec. We have Zach, and then we have Tamaka, and then you'll come in after that. We'll get you though, I promise.
Hey, something I have to go in a minute. I just want to say one sentence or two.
Yeah, if it's really quick, sure.
Okay, I just want to say that there's this persecution victimhood that Jewish people have had for a very long time, and it's valid. But I heard that from a Jewish person. The feeling of feeling unsafe shouldn't take precedent over people being actively harmed, and that's when I have trouble with people selectively picking on like each line everybody's saying in response to the G side. And instead of like actually looking at the people being harmed, actively harmed, they are just looking after only for themselves. And that's why there's no peace, because we know this persecution victimhood has allowed you to continue to use this as an excuse, or maybe it's a valid excuse, it's a valid feeling to continue to do whatever and say whatever behind in Hebrew, say something in English, say something in Hebrew, like just do whatever you feel like you need to survive because you're always under attack, right? And you always have to protect your own people. So that's your mentality. If that's your mentality, you'll never have peace, because you can't build trust with someone like that. That's all I want to say.
Let's do this. Yeah, if you want to stay on as long as you're able to, I'll get back to you for more. Yeah, good point. I mean, the victim. I have this thing called the victim card, and I would prefer it if Israelis would be more less leaning on something like that, because in certain cases it's not the appropriate thing to lean on, but it gets leaned on anyway. So that's where I think it gets problematic. But it's fair to point out the historical situations that are valid. I think that's more than fair. Zach, what's on your mind?
Yeah, just for clarity, you didn't mention the hostages, and releasing the hostages is the first step.
By the way, if you keep coming in under different names, I'm going to not let you in my lives ever again. So just stop doing that, okay? You came in under a different name earlier, and I don't play that. So either be yourself and come up and stop being such a jerk, or stay off my lives. How about that? Let's be fair. I have my one name, my one account. I never hide myself. Good, bad, and ugly. Okay? If you're listening, that's how it's got to be. I think you've used 4 different names now coming up my lives, asking about my childhood, all this shit like that. Come on, dude. You can be better than that. Okay, next person is going to be Tamaka, I think. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Are you there, Tamaka? Jamaica? Okay, let's put them on hold for a second. Let's let Flying the World, I think it says. Somebody who makes it a flight attendant, maybe?
So I work for DOD, DOF, and ICE. And,
Okay.
And right now, I'm sure you know what I mean by that. We contract. So I primarily move our military all around the world. And right now we are so busy just dumping our troops off everywhere. I don't want to, say anything that I shouldn't, but you can figure it out. We're going to the Middle East. We're going to Poznan, Poland. I'm dropping unaccompanied minors off in Nicaragua and Venezuela.
Wow.
Yeah. I dropped absolutely.
Wow.
So
that doesn't usually bode well when you're dropping soldiers off in all sorts of theaters. Usually that means something is expected to be happening in the near future.
Right, exactly. Exactly. It's
Yeah, not so good.
it's crazy out there, and I'm on I'm on the fence as far as being Republican or Democrat. But under Trump, I was moving more. Not to get into a border debate, but we were deporting people left and right from ICE, back down to South America, and now we're primarily doing unaccompanied minors, and it's so sad, to be honest with you. It really is. A 3-month-old. We're flying with guardian ad litems. You know, Still have to take my pins off. And when we do the occasional deportation of grown men, we handcuff them. I have to take my pins off. Can't feed them. I can heat their food up, but I have to give it to ICE. They have to feed them. They have to be walked into the bathroom. The door has to be.
Can I ask you a big favor? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Oh, sure.
this information is fascinating to me, and what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is would you mind coming on with me for a longer segment about this sometime so we can really flesh it out? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
If you direct message me, we'll make the arrangements and we'll announce it ahead of time. I'll do a video so people know to come. This is a whole fascinating topic to me that I don't know much about. Obviously, we don't want to get you in trouble with releasing sensitive information, but we'll walk as close as we can without getting you in trouble, if that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, I'm new to TT, so I'm not.
Yeah.
If you invite, it might be hard for you to invite me and me to accept that. But
we'll work through that. I'll show
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm on the field, is what I'm saying.
What first name should I call you by?
Christina. My name's Christina.
Christina. Nice to meet you, Christina.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. Yeah, terrific. Let's do this. If you direct message me, we'll continue this conversation. I want to give it the time it deserves, and I think right now we may not have the chance to go into the 20 or 30 minutes that would really help it.
No problem.
So let's do that if you're open to it.
Absolutely. Can you request me or do it to me? Because me figuring out how to do it, requesting you is going to be.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to follow you right now.
Okay.
Which is what people do here. After I follow you, actually you're following me, so now we can message each other. What's called being mutuals.
Okay. All right. No problem.
So let me send you a quick message if I can.
Sure.
Yeah, that's gonna go in the chat here. But yeah, so all you got to do is my username is just ChipBarnes67. If you want to search for me, and you can find me that way. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, honey.
You're welcome. Welcome to TikTok.
All right. I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Yeah, I want to learn more about that topic. I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, it's quite the career, to be honest with you. But
I can only imagine the stories you have. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Bye, Sweet Pea.
See you. Oh wow, I'm Sweet Pea. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a fascinating job to have. Moving troops around and stuff. I got moved around when I went to the First Girl 4. I got moved from Germany to Saudi Arabia, and then we were there for about a month and a half, and then we moved out to the desert and started positioning for the conflict. So yeah, I know what that's all about, at least a little bit. Got to stage vehicles and stuff. Okay, but there was a person that was here, but they weren't responding. I can't even read their name. Something Latina. I can't get you to speak. If you're trying to come through, I couldn't hear you, so I apologize for that. I have Alejandro and then Yasir, and I got to close it down after that.
Hey, Chip.
Hey, how are you, my friend?
Turn out to your live. I didn't know you were on because for some reason it's sometimes it pops up and it didn't this time.
Yeah.
Who's this 007 agent that you already mentioned 4 times? What's his purpose? What is he trying to get from you?
Who are you talking about?
The one that you said that he keeps changing his name and asking you about your private life.
Yeah, it's some guy. He came on earlier today. I don't really know what his position is. He said you didn't mention the hostages this time. I did mention the hostages. I talked about them at length, actually. So
yeah,
I don't know what he's talking about. But he's been coming on. I think he's been sending me emails all the time. He's probably gotten 150, maybe more like 60 emails from him that are all just these odd subjects. But he asked me what it is about my childhood that makes me choose the underdog.
I wanted to ask you about the guy last night, Dan something.
Danell.
Yeah, Danell. He was mentioning about 4 women first he mentioned that most of the women had come back pregnant, and then he said, I think he mentioned 4 women that were pregnant, and that it was. Who does he know how they got pregnant? First of all, because you know, why is he doing a presumption that the age group? I don't think our people would stoop that low to do that. You know, this was
Well,
they're trying to diabolically demonize the age group at all cost. You know, and first. That's the lowest blow you could, like. Oh no, you sexually assaulted our women. You know, don't you don't you think that the age group got some beautiful Palestinian women that they can marry and have children and live a happy life, but yet they're in the struggle and they're putting that aside, putting their lives on the line. They're not gonna stoop to that low when they're already sacrificing your own life. That's the biggest sacrifice you're gonna do. You're not gonna stoop to that low of a human being to do that atrocity. It's because it's an atrocity also to sexually abuse a woman, you know, and they're just trying to throw dirt. They're unaliving you, and they're throwing more dirt and more dirt over you. And it's just so dumb and stupid of them bringing this up, you know. And I wanted
no,
to get a,
let's talk
I
about that
wanted
for a
to
second.
actually give me like 3 minutes with this guy, and I would ask him a couple of questions. But you know, he gets into it, and then you get into it. You guys lasted, I think you guys lasted like 2 hours. Somebody mentioned, but you ripped him a new
Yeah.
asshole. I like that because you answered every question that he wanted to.
Hold on a sec. First of all, Alejandro, I want to make sure we're clear. I don't ever try to rip somebody a new anything, just to let you know. I just try to have conversations and try to make points back and forth and give people a chance. Just the other thing I want to mention is you said our guys, or I don't look at it as, I don't have any relationship to the H group and the way they handle prisoners or hostages, we're going to call them, or what they did on the 7th. I don't have an allegiance to quote our people or our guys. I'm someone who tries to analyze conflicts and geopolitics, and I happen to agree with the political position and the plight of Palestinians in this particular case. But what may or may not have been done to prisoners that are with the H group, I don't know. And I'm very suspicious when allegations are made like this, because it's hard to get corroborating evidence, but it's also hard to trust what the Israelis say because of the pattern of behavior in the past of lying. If women were impregnated, whether it was, I don't even know what the process would be. I don't know if it's the little fruit that we always talk about or what, but I can't imagine that the rules do not allow them to do that. I know that's the case. So whether individuals broke the rules and did it, I can't speak to that, but it does seem unusual. I agree with you. Also, think of the conditions everyone's in. They're not showering. They're not taking. I don't. Maybe they are, but I would think in many cases they're not. It's not the most pleasant thing to be doing when those things are happening, I would imagine. But I don't know. But in terms of the debates, I mean, even in the comments, let's try to be respectful to each other, even if you think someone's quote unquote winning, because it's not about winning. I'm not trying to beat the crap out of anybody. I'm just trying to have an exchange of ideas, and hopefully you can bring somebody to a position where they understand it from a different way. All this. But please don't say I ripped anybody as such and such. I don't think of it that way.
They're always trying to get the upper hand all the time. Every time you speak to a pro Zionist, that's the Zio. That's their mentality, you know. And well, you kind of have to counterbalance the the problem here, you know.
How can we speak with people like you? I hope someone will.
Hold
Why
on,
you
Ron.
jumping
Who's
in?
this?
Nobody gave you permission to speak yet.
Who's this,
We
Ron?
just to let you know, just 1 second, Alejandro. Let me just explain. So, Ron, what we normally do here, I don't know if you've been a guest here before, but I try to run it in fairness and give people a
Yeah.
chance. What I'll do though, just so you know, you're not going to get excluded. What I'll do is I'll give Alejandro a turn to finish. Then Shaq is next, and then you'll have your turn, Ron. I promise. Okay, Alejandro, what would you like to finish with?
Yeah, I want to know more about Ron because he jumped in very defensively. What did you want to know, Ron?
Well, it's okay. What this?
No.
Listen,
I want
are
to
these
hear what he's
represent
got to
guests?
say.
Hold on. Let me drive the car here for a second. What I'll do, Alejandro, is this: if he mentions you in a response, he's going to go next after Shaq. Then we'll let you stay on the panel. You guys can have some exchanges of what we need to do. So, Shaq, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, Chip? Everything well?
Pretty good.
Good.
Oh, this is Shaquille. This is Shaquille.
Yes. Just
Okay,
made it
got it.
easier because people were struggling with the pronunciation of the name. So, but anyway, yeah, I was going to say, you know what? This is official, reported in the Times of Israel, reported in Haaretz. Okay, not a single case of violation against a woman has been brought forward to the Zionist terrorist entity police force. Okay, not a single case. Not a single female has made any complaint.
This
And we be quiet when I'm speaking. Okay, not a single one of them has made a complaint. Okay, not a single anything. Here's a fact: we know whenever a Zionist speaks, just assume it's a lie because this is their history. This is the proven method of communication. It's what they do. But then their own government and their police force has issued a statement that we have had nobody come forward, not a single one out of any. And the women who left, they were singing Shukran Habibi and waving and smiling and happy. And then they twist everything. And then they did interviews to say they looked after all our requirements. They wouldn't even. There was one woman who said, you know, when they were getting bored, we were having arm wrestles with our holiday reps. Okay, and she said he wouldn't touch my hand. He put a towel around his own hand, and then when she asked why are you using a towel, he said, "You're not my wife. It's not halal for me to touch you, but I can use a towel. That way, I'm not I don't have contact with you." And then they had an arm wrestle, and she openly spoke about it. And she was there with her daughter in the interview on I think it was like Channel 13. I think they've got Israeli Channel 13. It's called, I think.
Well,
Okay.
Shaq, real quick. Here's a question. So if you're looking at this from the pro-Israeli side, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
How do you know? I know you've heard of these examples though. You're saying that this was treated in a way that was appropriate. How do you or we know for sure that in all instances it's been that case? And could it be possible that some of these interactions could have been problematic?
I think anybody who would break the rules would be severely dealt with because they do not want negative press. They don't want negative responses. And so far, we've had 100% positive responses, except for one who changed a story after she was briefed, like 4 or 5 weeks later, which is a very odd and suspicious thing to do. When all the others, and even in fact, there was a last group in a minibus who were left, and it was a mixed group of men and women. And one of the men, young guys, bearded guy, he was subsequently on the protests outside Satan Yahu's house, demanding a ceasefire and condemning the Zionist occupation. Actually, condemning the Zionist project as a whole. These people are disillusioned. The amount of Israelis leaving. I mean, there was a report yesterday, 30,000 were at the airport leaving Ben Gurion. They've had enough. They hate this. They've seen it for what it is. They've seen the violent massacres for what it is.
Yeah, I think it's fair for Israelis to be concerned. Obviously, you have rocket fire, you have conflict, you have danger. I can't blame anybody for wanting to be out of the way of danger. That's not a fair thing. I don't think that's a fair thing to point out. I may even leave if I was in their shoes. I don't know. But I did want to...
No, but people don't leave. Can I just say something, Chip?
Yeah,
people who are attached to their land do not leave. Men of fighting age stay and fight. There's no Palestinians who would leave if there was in a war situation. If they leave, they leave them for medical treatment, etc. Okay, but they're not leaving to leave permanently and escape. We've had 500,000 of them. I mean, there's only 7 or 8 million of them in total. 500,000 have already fled because they're all dual nationals. They got passports for USA and UK and Germany and Austria and Russia. You know, these people have no loyalty. They have zero loyalty, and now the
Can I
big problem
respond?
is that they're struggling. They're struggling to stem the tide, and they're trying to bring in legislations and make it harder for them to leave.
All right, real quick. Yeah, let's let Ron respond. Just one quick thing. I don't necessarily blame the people in the country if they're afraid, even though if they're a fighting age, the people of Gaza or the West Bank may behave differently. It's a personal choice, right? So I can see how people would criticize it, but I can't say in my situation if I was 30 or 40 years old, not of fighting age, what I would do there. Ron, hi, welcome, Ron.
I get his point, but this is false. You know, people just went to vacation. We, the Israelis, are working men. We don't like to stay in our houses much longer,
Okay.
you know. So we just went to vacation.
So it's vacations, not people leaving
Half
permanently, is what you're saying.
half went to army, half went to vacation.
Okay.
Especially in the areas when it's problematic,
Okay.
danger areas. So what's the problem? Nobody left. Don't worry, man.
Okay, maybe Shaq has a different point of view about that. So you're saying that people are on vacation or other things that are not permanently leaving the country. Do you think, here's a question for you. This is an honest question. And are you from Israel?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any conversations about fear of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon getting involved such that there'd be missiles sent in that the Iron Dome may not be able to intercept? Is there any concern about that?
No.
Okay.
We're
That's
gonna
good.
deal.
I'm glad
We're
about that.
gonna
And by the
deal
way,
with it, and that's it. But there is not such many casualties in this area for now.
and what do you think is the right way for the rest of the conflict to go? Do you think it should stop? Do you think it should continue? And if so, what are the objectives you think they're trying to achieve?
We all hope for a better future for both sides, but we can't think rational when there is still hostages there, and every day we're finding a new proof of what happened, a new horror. So it's of course difficult, but we, like always, we stay positive.
And so, in terms of what happens, like let's say the fighting stops in a month from now, and let's say that I don't know. I've heard reports that people have talked to the Israeli officials that it's very, very, very difficult to try to root out the vast majority of the what do you want to call them, the militants, T word, whatever. And so, if they can't root them out, but they continue to try to, eventually they're going to have to stop at some point. I mean, I don't know how you can possibly get everybody. But even if they got everybody, do you think it's possible with the idea of resistance? Even if you unalived all the current militants, do you think the idea of resistance will go away given that the larger circumstances will not have changed?
Yes, the resistance only causing problems. Why all the blockades, all the stuff? Because of security. We don't let our children go safe when we know they can be killed. If you open the West Bank, you know what's gonna happen.
What would happen if they? What do
This
you
is
mean when you say open the West Bank? What do you mean by that? And then what do you
we
think would
we
happen?
just arrested 1K, I think, in the last month, Hamas members in the West Bank. 400 of them just called and put their weapons down. That say take out to prison. You don't know the situation in the West Bank. If you really know, you know.
So I'm going to make sure I understand what you're saying for the audience. So you're saying that in the last 30 days or so, 1,000 members that are believed to be affiliated with the H group were in the West Bank,
Not
not inside of
believe. This
Gaza.
is facts.
Well, you're saying that it's facts. I'm just pointing out to the audience is what you
Yeah,
said.
if
So,
if you're familiar with the issue, you know it's facts. But if you only checking one side, so you believe or you think, I heard you enough. But okay, go ahead.
well, the only reason I say that is because many cases, and
You
again,
said
I'm just going on what I've.
consistently. It's for a Jewish man. It's very bad to see this.
Well, it's bad to see it, but it's even worse if there's a bomb falling on your head and the entire family you've grown to know for your whole life is no
You
longer
are
alive, and
always
it's
comparing. So
preaching to.
you
But
so
hold on, I got to be able to make a point. I got to be able to respond to you. I'll put you back on. In the West Bank, you mentioned the West Bank. Let's talk about the West Bank. Young people, 12, 13, 15, 16, whatever you want to say, are routinely picked up and accused of being T-words and taken off to Israeli jails when they haven't done anything wrong necessarily. Sometimes they're held under administrative detention, right? And in Gaza, military-aged men have been rounded up, accused of being members of the H group when they're not, and marched around and humiliated by having their clothes taken off, have them sit out in the cold weather, and eventually they get released because there's no tie to the group, and they go back as refugees wherever they have to go. This is routine practice by Israel. So you make the statement that definitively 1,000 people of H group have been detained, and there's no way for someone like me, and I don't know for sure or deny it for sure, to understand what they may be because of the things that I'm just pointing out to you. So do you think that I'm saying stuff are you sure you're right and that I'm guarantee I'm wrong, or are you not totally sure? What am I missing here?
if some kid, 15 years old, making some illegal stuff, throwing Molotov or rocks or putting our soldiers in danger, so you calling it nothing wrong or something like this? I don't get it. Give me the source or fact that you have that we just like that arresting
Yeah.
Palestinians, just like for
Are
fun.
you ready? Are you ready for some sources?
Not articles from the Palestinian
No.
side. Actually, what happened?
Yeah, this is a
If you
Jewish
give me the
version of
footage,
America.
not the end of the video, give me the whole video. What happened first? What happened later?
This is all documented. So if you go to YouTube and you type in life
Yeah,
occupied
I want to.
Palestine.
Yeah, not one case. Mistakes happen. I want to see a routine. Give me a routine of facts.
Yeah, it's common practice in the West Bank for Israeli forces
Go
and
ahead.
police to pick up Palestinian kids. And by the way, the accusation of T-word is thrown around very cavalierly, and it's used to identify any male or potential combatant who's picked up because the desire of the local forces choose to do so. That's it. That's a very common practice in the West Bank by the Israelis.
Yeah, sure.
It is, unfortunately. I wish it weren't the case. And therefore, people who live in the West Bank are in constant fear, never knowing what's going to happen next, whether troops are going to come into their home at 3 o'clock in the morning and harass the father, humiliate him in front of the kids, make the wife undress in front of the kids, which is completely against their religion, of course. This is standard practice. If you watch the people who say breaking the silence, these are Israeli soldiers that have come out and said, I feel guilty about what I did, and I'm going to speak publicly about it and admit what happened. Why? Go look that up, Ron. I'm not trying to lie to you. I have no reason. I'm not trying to twist the argument in a way that makes sense for me. These are just things that I've learned over time, and I'm just trying to present them to you. Are you willing to go look at something like Breaking the Silence? These are Israelis, not me, who are saying this.
Chip, can I just say something here?
Okay.
Ron, you need to stop telling lies. Okay, because the whole world knows. We got B'Tselem, a Jewish organization. You got Breaking the Silence, another Jewish organization of ex-IOF soldiers who now classify themselves as former terrorists. They openly speak about this. And you're still here, yeah, after 75 years of what we've witnessed, telling lies through your teeth. Okay, you should be ashamed of yourself. We're not stupid. We are talking to people with brains. We can see, we've got access to information. It's all on CCTV, it's all on camera. Even the Israeli media is reporting on it because they're ashamed They did not realize how bad this Zionist project is going to be. Okay, and you are still here lying like you think we live in caves, like we're dinosaurs or cavemen or something like that.
Oh,
We
we serve
know.
the army. You know we serve in the army. You know this, right?
I said,
Let's give Ron a chance to respond to that. So Ron, he thinks you're
We're not
lying and you're
stupid. We're
spreading
not
misinformation.
this. We're not blah blah. You know, every citizen serving 3 years in the army. Most of them.
Oh, yes, Ron.
So
Sorry about that. Yeah, please continue.
you can take 1 cases, 2 cases, but in general, this is not the case. When we open
So you don't
fire,
believe
we
it's
have
wide. You don't believe
rules.
it's
We have a certain rules of open fire. If we can't open fire if somebody go with knife on us. You can't shoot only in the legs if he near. We give then sorry. So in general, it's not true. It's false. This is not the army rules.
Let's do this. Let's again. My experience, Ron. And again, I'm not trying to push narrative. I'm just sharing you. Literally, this is what I've learned. Okay, and if it's wrong, let's get to the bottom of it. I've seen video of hundreds of incidents where the Israeli soldiers, if a young Palestinian kid throws a stone and they can catch him, they literally break his arm. They did this for years on end, where they would take either their hand or their arm. They would grab a bigger rock and they would smash their hand or arm such that it broke their arm or their hand. That was common practice in Israel for many, many years by the IDF. That's crazy violence, right? And I understand people don't want people to throw stones, but you have people that are literally living under a brutal military occupation where one side has all the weapons and all the power, and all these kids have in terms of their anger about what's going on with their family and friends who are killed, their houses are smashed down, their wells are filled with cement, poison is sprayed on their crops, they cut down their olive trees, they spray shit water on their houses, they do everything they want to do with snipers, and they just do whatever the hell they want, whenever they want, and it ends up with people being unalived and injured for life, and it makes people angry, as it would to you if you were under that. To say that that's somehow adjudicated properly and regimented, I hate to say it, that's a bunch of bullshit, man. And if you're not willing to acknowledge what happens, do some research and find out. I'm not lying to you. I have no reason to lie. If it didn't happen, I would never say it.
Okay, but this is 0.0009%. This
No,
is the
it's not.
army law.
It's
Yeah.
widespread.
You
It's
tell me. I
consistent and
serve
it's
in the
purposeful.
army, and you tell me from the BDS shit info.
Right. Even the soldiers who served, maybe alongside you or other units, have come out and said this is widespread. It is the way things work in our mission. We're allowed to do it because we can do it. That's not me claiming it. I've seen video of it many, many times. But I'm letting you know that your own troops
It's still
are coming out publicly and saying it.
0.009%.
No. It's not 0.0. It's pervasive. It's the way things are done. The 0.00 are the times it doesn't happen. You got it backwards. Now, go watch the people who talk about it from Breaking the Silence. Listen to their words of how their units function, with what they did, with what they're embarrassed to have participated in, and how they see it differently now. That's not 0.0001%. It's common practice. And I wish it weren't, by the way, because I want to say something positive. God, I'm looking for one thing positive to say about how Israel conducts itself militarily and diplomatically. I would love to. Give me something to work with.
Name me one army in the world who warming before bombing.
If they did it consistently, I'd be more
Just
than happy to praise it. It
give me
happens very
one
rarely.
army, not your answer. Give me one in history.
The United States has,
uh,
in terms of dropping leaflets, the United States has dropped leaflets before.
Not consistently like Israel.
oh my God.
That's
You know
right.
what? Your warnings
Israel
mean
doesn't do it
nothing.
consistently.
Ron,
Just one.
listen.
Let's let Shaquille respond, and then Shaquille, after you finish, we gotta let somebody else in. Okay?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Ron, listen to me,
Okay.
please. Yeah. Just listen to me like a fellow human being. Yeah. Do not take it personal. Yeah. Just accept you're a private individual who just happens to be by accident, by birth of accident, you were raised in this illegal occupation. Yeah, that's what's happened to you. Now,
And
what you
Jewish.
need to do, you need to separate yourself from this illegal entity that you're born into and say, I do not wish to be a part of this criminal enterprise. I'm going to be a human. I'm not going to justify mass murder and mass unalivement. Yeah, your warnings have resulted in more than 30,000 unalivements. Half of them are children. 70% are women and children. The average age of the children that are no longer with us is only 5 years old. Imagine if this was your families for a moment. Stop and think. If this was in your city, in your town, yeah, you
Oh,
would be
every day.
losing your mind. Okay, but it's not
One sec.
happening in your
1
town.
sec.
Yeah, it's not happening where you live. Yeah, you are totally safe. Yeah, because the Palestinian resistance since 7th of October has not attacked a single so-called Israeli civilian. They've only been engaging the troops that have entered Gaza. Okay, and this is a fact. This is reported in your own newspapers too. Now, start being a human and start seeing where right is right and wrong is wrong. Stop making excuses. Stop justifying. And you know what? We will even love you for this. But right now, we haven't.
Okay, let's give him a chance to respond. Ron, what is your response?
Okay, I'm with you. Provide me the facts. All the things you say, I want the facts.
Do you have access to
What I
Telegram?
have?
There's an app called Telegram that many of us use to exchange information. It's free to download. Once you download it, you can contact me and I'll reply back with the information that I shared that I have. The way you do it, if you want, I'll make a note in the chat. I'll respond to somebody who's here. I'm going to respond to a chat by Malini Patel. I'm going to write
No,
down
I'm
the
talking
Telegram
to
address. You
Shaq.
can either
I'm talking
screenshot
to
it.
Shaq. You say to
Hold
respond
on.
to
Well,
Shaq.
we can both we can both do this. I can contact Shaq through the Telegram as well. But you can reach me by this.
No, about
It's
the things he said.
t.me. Here we go. It's right there in the chat. So it's
Oh
t.me
God.
Chip Barnes. And then I'll coordinate with Shaq and we'll get you the information you want, whatever it is to document what we're saying. Because I know it to
Okay,
be
I
true.
want I
Unfortunately,
want to see
I wish
also
it was
the
not.
laws. You say it's coming, comment every day. This is in the army laws. Don't also give me this info.
It may not be written on the books, Ron, but it happens every single day in practice. That's how the Israeli military and the IDF, that's what it does. That's what it does. And their own soldiers admit it in public, on television, on video. Many dozens do this, including pilots.
Okay, Shaq
They
said
have no, they,
since 7 October there is no terror attacks in Israel. He delusional on the citizens.
there are rockets that have been fired. There have been rockets
Rockets
that
are
have been fired.
fireworks.
No, terror attacks.
Terror attack by Gaza, by Hamas, by H Group.
Yes,
Zero.
by members
Zero.
of age groups from the West
No.
Bank in Israel.
Where? There is no H Group in West Bank. This is a Zionist lie.
What the fuck? If you're saying this, I can't talk with you. You
If
have no
you're saying it, do you
zero
think
clue.
Fatah would allow H Group people who had a civil dispute with them? They were literally at war with each other. Do you think they would allow them in West Bank? Are you out of your mind? Listen, we've told you before. Please be a human. Stop telling lies. We know it's in your
I mean, I live
nature to
here. I know
lie,
the
but you have
reality.
to
You
stop
say
this.
spreading lies.
Yeah, you are spreading lies. This
So
is proven.
real quick, guys. Okay, so I know, Ron, you've been asking for proof of what we're saying. So happy to provide it. I've given you a link. I've been very open. So in that same communications process, if you have definitive proof that there's a substantial number of H group militants or T words, whatever you want to call them, in the West Bank that are actively committing acts of T on Israelis inside Israeli territory, there's got to be documentation for that. Video, of course, I'm sure, from the different Israel's cameras everywhere in East Jerusalem, in West Jerusalem, everywhere. I don't know where these things are happening. You say in the West Bank and in Israel. I don't know what you mean by that, but you have to have documentation for that, of course, right? You can send to us to substantiate what you're saying. I hope. Ronnie there, did I unmute you okay? Let me see. It's saying it may take 45 or 50 seconds. Check,
Chip,
just one
I'm
second.
about to shoot off for a little while, but you know what?
Okay,
These
yeah.
Zionists, they ask for proof on everything, and they make ridiculous comments on things that are widely known and reported in their own press, but they never actually offer any proof themselves. This is the pattern that we see repeatedly. They come out and make claims that H group is in West Bank, and 1,000 of them or 400 or whatever has been arrested. This is laughable. Even Israelis would be laughing at him with stupid comments like this. But this is what, unfortunately, I've got a feeling a very, very significant number of these Zionists actually believe their own.
All right, we gotta run. So Ron, let me let you say your last thing, and then we're gonna have other people get a chance to speak.
If you say things like this of actual facts of what happened on 7 October and on things like is no Hamas in the West Bank, you look very stupid. Peace out.
Okay, Ron, thanks for being here. And by the way, Ron, I gave you that link for the Telegram. So if you have documentation for the things you've claimed about the H group having over 1,000 militants that have been picked up and active attacks by that same group in different parts of the territories or elsewhere, feel free to provide it. Saying that we're stupid or beyond help if we don't know that, we don't have any evidence for that. And we know that the H group militants are in Gaza. How do they get to the West Bank? Do they fly on those little gliders? Are they embedded like T cells? Are they somehow welcomed in by the Palestinian Authority, which they have huge political divides on? I'm just not really clear on how that's happening. If it is, fair game. Send the evidence. If it is, I will broadcast it from the hilltops here. And fair is fair. But like I said, I can document every single word that I said to you tonight. Hopefully that Shaquille can too. Okay, My Land Palestine, or Mary hasn't a chance, then My Land Palestine.
I'll go after.
Okay, yeah, Mary, please.
First of all, there is no H group in the West Bank. Second of all, Ron and Danielle, they always came to Eric's live and threw these lies. But nobody believed them. Everybody kept telling them you're liars, you're full of shit, whatever. So they stopped coming over Eric's live. So don't even bother with Eric's audience because they know them. They come to you because you're willing to listen to them. That's why. Third of all, okay, is the sheeps that they shot up, are those Hamas too? Without me knowing? Are the sheeps Hamas? Okay, what does the sheep have to do with it? Okay, human beings, you're killing children, you're killing women, you're unaliving women, sorry, Chip. You're unaliving women, kids, old people, whatever. But okay, what are the sheeps doing to you? Are they H groups too? I didn't know they're H groups. I mean, these people don't know when to stop. And for the raping of hostages, is he for real? Like, especially Danielle, when he used to come over at Eric's live, he never mentioned that before. But this is a new lie now. This is a new lie for Danielle. Danielle, I've seen him on Eric's lives 1,000 times. But
Danielle, he's a male, right? Danielle.
Yeah, I know. But his name on Eric's, it was Danielle. Now he changed it to Danielle.
Oh, I see.
I know his voice, Chip. I know his voice. I know how he is. Yeah. He seems sophisticated. He seems smart. But it's all lies. Like, I know this guy. He stopped coming on Eric's live. Like, enough is enough. Enough is enough with their lies. Enough.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even believe their lies, but of course, they're not going to say, oh yeah, we're unaliving thousands of people. Oh yeah, we're not good. Oh yeah, we're bad. They're not going to say that. And the people that left occupied Palestine, they didn't go on vacation. I mean, these are 30,000 people. Like, they're going to go on vacation, all 30,000, and school is in session. And in this time of year, all these 30,000 are going to go on vacation the same time.
Yeah.
The difference between them and the Palestinians, a lot of them have dual citizenship. A lot of them have U.S. citizenship. I even know an American. She's married to a Palestinian. She's Christian, and her husband is Christian in Ramallah. Her name is Morgan. I see her on Facebook all the time. And she didn't even leave. She didn't even leave to come to America. And she can if she wanted to. And she didn't even leave. And she's 100% American. The difference between them and the Palestinians are willing to die for the land. They're not. That shows to tell you that they are not entitled to that land because it's not their land. That's all I have to say, Chip.
All right, Mary. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Chip.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I saw that deep sigh that she just did. I feel her pain. Okay, my land, Palestine, please.
Chip, how you doing? Listen,
Good.
you can't tell someone who's committing crime that they're not gonna own up to anything. They're not gonna own up. I mean, there's enough. I'm a Palestinian. I've known these people. I'm 57 years old. I live in the States. I know what these people
Yep.
did to my family and other families. We've seen the videos. There is no denying anything. I mean, now the video's out where they pewed unalived sheep in the Gaza Strip. There was a guy doing a video. They sniped him. They're pewing civilians left and right. I mean, do we really need to argue this point? I'm not gonna even argue this point. There's ample evidence out there. And then for this guy says, you're going to tell me I am a soldier, I am in the military. You're the one being accused. You think we're gonna take your word for it? We see it, we know it. Another thing is, if dropping leaflets within minutes before you unalive hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, that makes you a moral military. Well, guess what? The Russians didn't drop leaflets, and they've unalived less people in 2 years in Ukraine than you did in 2 months. So
Yeah,
what does that
it's
even
true.
mean, that you've dropped leaflets on people? And lastly, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I saw you earlier on their live, and you okay? Everything okay with you?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I thought it was the right thing to do, even though it was not pleasant. But I think when we misstep or mess up, or even worse, which I think mine would go to the latter. I just, first of all, for Nicholson, I said some things that were very insensitive towards people of color, which is not appropriate. And so I offered him a direct apology, which I thought was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in general, they brought some other stuff up during the live that they thought I was anti-Semitic or something like that. I still believe that I try to differentiate as best I can. I got no hate in my heart for anybody, although I said some stupid shit.
I mean, I've watched you since you came on. I haven't seen anything from you. I saw they were basically threatening, but I've never seen anything from you like that against anybody. And I appreciate your honesty and your humanity. I just want to tell you that. And I mean,
Thanks.
we're here, but we've lived this, Chip.
Yeah.
I thought you knew that this is, you're prepared for it. This is what they do. This is exactly what they do.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is how they intimidate people. But the bad part about it is, Chip, you can't over apologize because they thrive on that. I saw how they were just basically coming over and over again, and then they want,
That's okay.
yeah, and they wanted you to say certain things that you did not see were moral, and you did not, and I appreciate that.
No, I mean that's like kissing the ring and
Exactly. Well, anyway,
something
Chip,
offensive, owning it and
I want to
apologizing for it.
thank you.
That's fair. Having me do
Yeah.
having me, yeah,
Yeah, anyway, Chip, thank you very much, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate your honesty. We appreciate your humanity. This is from a Palestinian to you, and this is on behalf of every Palestinian and every humane person on earth, because you are a human being and a decent human being. Thank you so much, Chip. You have a good night.
I appreciate you saying that. Thanks, very kind of you. Thank you. You too. Yeah, wow. Like anything else, like anybody else, we have our blind spots and flaws. And the one thing I was asked to do was to say a very common statement about the perpetuation of people in Israel. Yeah, that's not appropriate for me to say that any more than it is for me to cheerlead, saying from the river to the sea or anything like that. That's not my job, is what I do. My job is to try to make heads and tails, share my point of view, and try to be fair. But I can't cheerlead or hold the pom poms for either side. That's not appropriate, because as things change, I need to update my analysis accordingly. But the reason I tend to defend the Palestinian side of this argument is because I think it's the right thing. The people are being subjected to horrible things. I'm not happy about the resistance tactics because it's horrible. I don't want anybody in Israel to get hurt. But at the same time, what Israel done is so over the top and so ongoing. The atrocities are just so, they mount up to such a big pile that anybody with a shred of humanity has to see it for what it is. And even Israelis who learn this later shift their thinking, as they should. And it's only fair. The people that tend not to shift their thinking are the ones that don't want to think about it, or who ignore or deny the things that other people say that are contrary to what they've been told to believe. And that's unfortunate, but that's all too common. It is what it is. You just got to try to put what you can out there and try to do the best you can. So thank you for the nice words. Who was next here? I think we had Maha Hirsch, I think it is, and then Nidal. Are you there?
Yeah. Good night, my dear.
Hello.
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 Good night. Dear.
Hi. Please do me a favor. I try to be as objective as I can, not treating men or women in anything other than the conversations we're having. Please don't use terms of endearment, because we don't know each other. So if you want to say something you want to say that's around the issues, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, not want to go in that direction. Okay, I'm not sure we're making a connection there. Let me bring up the next person, who's Nidal. Nidal, how are you doing tonight or today,
Hey,
wherever you may be?
how are you? How are you?
Okay, thanks.
First, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I do appreciate you as a human being, seeing the things the way it is. I'm gonna respond to Ron for everything he was saying, and this is basically every pro-Israel. They always do the same thing. They keep saying, "Give me the evidence," and this and that. I'm gonna give him the evidence of their own mouth, which is I'm going to start with the Prime Minister of Defense for Israel. The first day of the war, he literally on TV
His name
live.
is Yolant. His last name is Yolant.
Yes, so he sat down on the TV, live TV, saying or claiming that all the Palestinians are animals and they need to be unalive. I've never seen this happen anywhere in the world unless the Schmichler guy, he's the only one used that method of treating other human beings. Number two, I want to talk about is evidence. When they released the hostages from both sides, it was on TV, international governments and a lot of international organizations, they were involved with that. They witnessed that Israel released over 280 prisoners from the Palestinian side. Almost 185 of them were kids. They were in jail for more than 1 year without seeing a judge, without being charged with anything, and they were arrested way before October 7th. So these facts were happening, like they claim the world become dark after October 7, but these things were happening to the Palestinian way before October 7. Another thing I want to talk about, when you try to say something about anything, you have to have a standard of being a human being, a standard of Allah people follow, a standard you judge people on that standard. You cannot strip people from their human rights, from their normal life, from everything they deserve as a human being. Then you try to say, hey, they act in a different way. I mean, if you beat a dog to death, that dog is going to bite you, not a human being. It is a natural react when people get abused to react to their abusing. That's a fact. Almost in 2018, every single human being watch organization in the world, they were against Israel for sniping Palestinians when they were protesting peacefully against the siege around Gaza. Almost 300 people unalived,
Yeah.
and they were sniped by the Israel army. It was on TV, it was live. Almost every human rights organization on the world talk about that. So they can't deny the fact that they're treating the Palestinian for years as bad as they're doing, and then they come here today and ask, hey, where's your evidence on that? I don't know if you live in the world or if you're watching TVs or where you get your information from.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking about the people who claim we need evidence, especially when you serve
Oh yeah,
in Israeli army. If you serve in the Israeli army, you watch in your
yeah.
eyes what happened. You did it. You
Well,
know what I'm saying? And you
I
ask,
don't doubt that it's possible. So like, for Ron's defense, okay, in fairness, he made the claim that he's been in the military and he didn't see these things happen, that they don't happen regularly. They happen, in his words, like 0.0001% of the time. It may be that when his unit was serving in whatever capacity and wherever they were, that these things did not occur in his unit. It's possible, and that may be what he bases his claim on. I think the challenge that Ron has is, and this is probably consistent across most people in Israeli society, they go with what they're told. And they're told over and over again, regardless of the sources, more right wing, less right wing, schools, universities, it's all the same language. The IDF is the most moral army in the world. They send out, we're the only one that sends out warnings to people before we, hit a target. We're the only ones in the world that go out of our way to avoid civilian casualties, no matter what, right? That sounds great. It sounds like, oh my God, what a great group of people. This is amazing. How can they do this? That's just so much. The problem is they don't do it. That's not the truth. There are instances where they do it, but it's exceedingly rare. It's not common practice. What is common practice is to say that and then do another thing. Shoot kids in the groin, shoot people in the arm or the knee, shoot people in the face or the head. Happens all the time. Bulldoze houses, pour cement or poison waterways, unalive animals, livestock, burn down olive orchards, cut down the trees, roll down in settlements to blow people up. Then they explode. When they go out to stop the fire, they snipe those people. It goes on and on and on. The checkpoints, all the misery. Watch Life in Occupied Palestine, for Christ's sakes. Don't take my word for it. Listen to a young Jewish woman who went there to dispel the things her friends told her. She didn't believe them. She went there, and what she saw was far worse. And it impacted her so much that she came back to the United States and she made it her life mission to tell people about it because she was shocked. And I think most Israelis, if they heard the totality of what their military, their police, and their government does to maintain the control it desires and take more land, if they have a heart, they'd be as upset as someone like me is, and probably more so because their government's been lying to them. And I don't even get affected by this. No matter who gets harmed, it doesn't affect me directly, and it pisses me off.
one more thing I want to talk about is when something bad happens, who's normally bring this as a news to the world? Isn't the journalist? 99 journalists got unalived in the last 3 months, where in the last
Yeah.
20 years in all over the world wars, they only have like 15 journalists unalived. In 3 months, there was 100 journalists got unalive in Gaza. And that tell you right there who's trying to hide the facts on what's going on.
Someone's correcting you and saying it's 120 journalists total, which sounds unbelievable. And I think, in fact, if you add the Vietnam War, World War II, and the Ukraine War together, you still haven't gotten that many in the number of years we've been here. So it's a number of months. So this is a big problem, and it appears that the Israeli military purposefully targets journalists to try to unalive them. We've seen cars hit by Hellfire missiles. We've seen people whose entire families' homes have been bombed because the journalists would not relent to pressure from the U.S. government to not report from Gaza. So boom, there goes their family. It's horrific. It's really bad. And every excuse in the book, oh no, it's a total coincidence. No, come on. I mean, these
And
numbers are irrefutable, and it's embarrassing to try to think that we're that stupid that we don't see what's going on.
And it's so funny. Like there is some incidents about the hospitals. They call the hospitals and they told them that they're gonna throw bombs on the hospitals, and then they denied it. After it happened, they denied that they did it. Like, what type
Yeah,
of mentality you have to act like that?
it's very frustrating. Okay, Nidal, unfortunately, we have to keep moving. I hate to do this, but you've been very,
Yeah,
very good
thank
as
you.
a guest. I thank you so much. I
Yeah,
got about maybe 15 minutes before I have to finish up. So thank you very much for being here. Okay, we had, I think it's Ray Medina. How you doing, Ray?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. And I would like to congratulate you for doing a very good job for humanity. Practically, this is for humanity. And my point will be for humanity also. The only question I have is what is really the goal of the Israeli to bomb civilians in Gaza? What is their narrative in bombing it? No, I don't really see any reason to make me understand why they're bombing civilians and children in Gaza. What is the goal for that? If they want the land, then they're going to buy it from them. If they wanted the Palestinians to go away, they should. How about spending how many billions of dollars being spent by Israel right now for their bombs, rockets, armaments? Why they did not use it to buy the lands from Palestine if they wanted Palestine to go away, or if they wanted the
Well,
land of Palestine? Because if you're going to ask
it's
me, billion of dollars are being spent already in this war. So if you want the
well,
land, why
first of
not
all,
buy it? Why why
it's
why
not
why
for
bomb the
sale.
civilians? Yeah, go ahead.
It's not for sale. Yeah, there's some background noise too, so I'm going to mute that. It sounds like you're doing dinner time or cleaning up or whatever. Um, yeah, it's not for sale. Palestinians do not want to leave Gaza or the West Bank. That's their territory. That's their identity. It's their people. It's the one thing they have, which is the land they live on and their faith. So they're not letting go of any of that voluntarily. So it's not going to be sold under any circumstance. It's just not. It's just not even within the realm of possibility. The Israelis know this. The resolute nature of Palestinians is beyond imagination. So what are they going to do? They have to forcibly dispossess them of the land at the end of a gun or other military. So what are they doing? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense towards their gain of having to hurt civilians. Here's my take. It appears, based on the behavior and the actions of the Israelis, that they want to take more territory. They are taking more territory, and they have a callous disregard, a criminal war crime basis, callous disregard for Palestinian life by virtue of the way it's executing the conflict. Most part of is the bombing campaigns, which have completely destroyed the northern part of Gaza and have made over 1.5 million people homeless that are in the south right now, kind of trying to figure out what to do. Many of which are living in tents in the open areas, and some having nowhere to go at all. In many cases, there's no food, no clean water, definitely no electricity or any kind of fuel, and of course, no medical care. So it's a total humanitarian disaster. And the Israelis are doing it, you know why? Because they can. Because the egregious nature of what they've claimed happened on the 7th, which it may have, I don't know for sure, has inflamed the public and gotten the U.S. to support it, which it has forever with money, munitions, and of course, military and political cover at the UN, which gives them free reign to do what they want. And therefore, they're justifying this is very disproportionate, by the way. I'd say as many as about 1,000 to 1,200 people perished, about a third of whom may have been soldiers or related, and the other 2/3, who knows who unalived whom. The military response, we're not clear. But let's just say the H group harmed 400 civilians. That's 400 too many in my book. They took up 250 to 300 prisoners. That's too many in my book as well. I want the hostages to get back safely. But the Israeli military is moving through, not very methodical in what they're doing, because we saw in Lebanon, in Beirut, when they went after the senior leader of H group, when he was supposedly the intel, they were able to take out the second story of a building with no other damage to people or other structures, very precision with a missile from a drone. They could do that to go after H group militants. They just have to look for where they are, track them, and then boom, go after them. They're not doing that. They're dropping, in some cases, completely unguided munitions that blast the smithereens of whatever it lands on beneath them with seemingly callous disregard and no direct relationship to militants. Why? Because they can. So I think what it looks like, in addition to what's going on in the West Bank with rabid settlers moving in and doing more of the same that's been done for decades, just at a much faster pace and at much more harm, they're doing the same thing in Gaza they've always done, except now they have license to do it at a much greater scale, which they're definitely doing. They're taking advantage of the justification, so to speak, to inflict vast amounts of casualties and harm to somebody who they want to take their land from. And they're doing a good job of it so far. Now, I think their ability to root out the ground forces has been stymied by the effectiveness of the H groups fighting. They're very good fighters, and it's very difficult to fight in that terrain when you have somebody who's very familiar with that terrain. So I think on the ground forces, they're lying in terms of their progress. But yes, have they moved into parts of the territory and utterly destroyed it? Yeah. I think it's actually themselves shooting themselves in the foot, because it doesn't help your image on the international stage to run roughshod over other people like they're doing. It hurts their reputation. And look at all the people who are learning about what they do here on social media. In a way, that is the ultimate victory of the seven for the H group. They're not going to win a territorial battle with Israel, right? It's never going to happen. They don't have the force to do it, plus it's the United States. But what they did do is they changed the political dynamic. The conversation has shifted dramatically. More people than ever are talking about it, focused on it, trying to learn about it, and of course becoming aware of what Israel actually does instead of what they say they do. And people are just not, they don't give it justification. No matter what you say you think you're doing it for, militants, you can't unalive 200, 300, 400 people at a shot just because you think you have a shot at one person. It's not acceptable. It's genocide. Let's face it. It is genocide. Now, are they able to unalive every single Palestinian? Though maybe like 1 or 2%. It doesn't matter. That's still tens of thousands of human beings. And 10 or 15 is too many, much less tens of thousands. So they're doing it because they can. That's the bottom line. And they want the land. I heard on another live today, though, they said the most just way to do this is to open up one or the other border crossings and let people out into tent cities, at least the women and the children, until the violence subsides. Do you think those women and children will ever come back into Gaza if they leave? I don't. I think that's a very insincere way of funneling people out. The reason why the Arab nations, quote unquote, don't take refugees from Gaza and the West Bank is they don't want to give people, they don't want to give the Israelis an easy way out of this. They're going to force them to displace the people forcibly or unalive them or some form of both in order to achieve what appears to be their goals. That's why they won't take them. Okay. We have Abdel Kane, and then that's probably going to wind it up for me today for right now, guys.
Hi, Chip. Can you hear?
Yep.
I was first and foremost, I want to thank you for inviting me, and I think you are doing a very good job. And I wanted to ask you about this question, Plan Dalet. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
strange? That is happening almost now, or it's been happening all the time.
Yeah, let's let the people know what plan. It's made D as in dog, A-L-E-T, Dalet. So it's a plan that was written up back in the, I think in the late 30s, early 40s by David
48,
Ben-Gurion and others, which is a blueprint. I think it was circulated in 1948. It was written before then. That circulated, and it was basically a blueprint for how to deal with dispossessing Palestinian villagers from their land and what the repercussions would be and how to go about doing it in a way that would actually be functional and successful.
Yeah, I've just heard about it, so I'm amazed though.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
Planned and meticulous, like, yeah. So what's your background? Can I ask that? Why are you doing this?
Well, my background is I'm a Army veteran. Before I went into the Army, I was an officer. You have to go to college to be an officer. So I was what's called a political science major. And during my senior year of college, one of my classmates just so happened to do a project on what's called the first, which was a very big uprising of Palestinians in 1987. So I didn't know anything about the conflict until she gave this report that was completely different than what I'd heard. And I learned about what the Gaza Strip was. I learned about the way. I didn't know there was a 1967 war that took more terror. I didn't know any of this stuff. So when I learned all this, and then she talked about how life is for Palestinians, I was shocked. I had no clue. So that kind of sparked an interest for me, and I've been following it ever since. I did go to war in 1990 as a part of the 3rd Armored Division, as a part of Operation Desert Storm. So that was an interesting life experience, which taught me how bad war is. And so I'm not a military expert, but I have some experience. And so I've looked at the conflict try to be objective about it for most of my adult life, reading different books and, of course, watching things once the internet started. And I even went to the pro-Israel rally recently in Washington, D.C., and I also read books by people like Alan Dershowitz just to try to get, round out my thinking on this and try to be fair. And so I do this work not because I'm doing it for money or for fame or for even clicks or followers. I just so happened to get started on social media about the same time this happened because it was just I was going to do it anyway. So if you look at my video library, you'll see a number of different topics. I don't just focus on this issue. I try to focus on geopolitics, politics in general, power structures, relationships, and what causes the world to work the way it does. But
I understand,
because
mate.
this has been so newsworthy and so in the public eye, I've been speaking to it. And I'm a strong advocate for Palestinians. I'm a strong critic of Israeli policy because I think that's what's worthy of criticism and worthy of support. If the roles were flipped, I would be supportive of Jewish people who have been dispossessed, and I'd be advocating against the Arab government doing what the Israelis are doing in this situation. That's the Gyro's truth. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your point of view, and thanks for, your nice words. So for those of you who don't watch me regularly, I want to give you my schedule. It's actually a message. There's a banner in my homepage, my videos, where you can see my schedule, but it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I go live on TikTok from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, like I did today earlier, from 12 noon until about 2 p.m., sometimes a little longer. And then I do a few impromptu ones here and there, like I did this afternoon. I was on a pro-Israeli live today, doing some housekeeping of my own personal stuff. And, I've gone on multiple pro-Israeli lives just to, be a part of the mix. I invite people here who are pro-Palestinian, pro-Israel. I try to be fair. I try to let people speak their points. Even if I disagree, I try to treat them with respect, and hopefully it's two ways. And I don't let shouting matches occur, which is unfortunately a lot of times what happens on these panels with different people's points of view. So try to be fair and honest, objective as best I can. I get some things wrong, like anybody. You try to be as accurate as you can be, but I never knowingly put something out that is false. Would never do that. And people have accused me of being paid to do this. I'm not being paid directly by any outside source. There are ways for any content creator to earn small amounts of money. And in fact, unfortunately, because of the controversial positions I take, there's less likelihood that they're going to give you financial gain because it's not something that advertisers want to deal with, which is understandable. I get that. But through small donations of viewers like yourself, like independent people like me, we don't have corporate money. We don't have foundational money. There's no support structure. I'm just a guy doing this as a hobby, just starting out. So I do have ways people can help. I've been criticized for mentioning this, but I'm not going to apologize. Most people have a job. And if somebody accused you of going to work for money, what would you say? Of course I go to work for money. That's how I pay my bills, right? Well, it's the same thing for somebody like me, even though I'm talking about a controversial issue. This is work. I do it about 20 hours a week, maybe, and about 80 to 100 hours a month on average. And, I love doing it because it's the right thing to do. But I also have bills. When people say, pay me, I got to respond, right? I just did my monthly rent, which is, it's $1,200. And then I got other expenses like all of us do, right? And I live very, very simple life. But I have a link tree in my bio. If you like the way I do things and you want to support the work I'm trying to do, feel free to do so. I have a little $5 a month Patreon. So that's not me trying to get rich off of people. And there's some other ways you can make a one-off donation, like, PayPal and the typical stuff. You know the deal. So, but in my link in bio, if you go there, I have other social media. I have an Instagram account, YouTube, and Rumble. All of these lives are recorded. So if you came in late, you want to check the recording out, or if you've already been here, you want to listen to what the conversation was, they're usually uploaded within about a day or so to my YouTube and my Rumble channels, which are through my link tree. And in my main page on my bio, there's a small link that says linktree/Chip Barnes. So if you click on that, if you're in the US, you click on that, it'll launch the page of stuff. You'll see it. If you're outside the US, the text you have to type into a web browser, it's not clickable because they won't give you a separate clickable link. I can't make two. And for some reason, they don't put the one from the US. I don't know why they do that. But so if you're out of the country, open up a web browser, type in the text that says Linktree Chip Barnes, it'll pop up the same list. There's some Telegram groups we've created. One's called Palestine in Focus. Another one's called Action for Change, which is more about domestic politics in the United States, and a few others, self-explanatory. So if you want to get into those, feel free. And if you want to help out with the cause, great. If you can't, no worries. Just one last word. if you do donate through TikTok to content creators like myself by the little gold star membership, which is appreciated, but TikTok keeps 70% of those donations, which I think is pretty high, but good for them because they can get it. Good for TikTok. But if you want to donate where somebody's not taking 70%, which is a large, then you can use the links that I talked about that. So I'm going to be online again tomorrow night, which is a Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And if I didn't get to you today, or if I didn't answer your questions in the chat, I apologize for that. But, please, when you come into these lives for content creators like me, you know this, if you hold the screen down for like a half a second, a list of all your mutual contacts comes up, and then you can invite people. That's one of the biggest ways you can support getting the message out to people, because right now they're limiting the reach of people like me, unfortunately, because people came on today and said, hey, I'm a follower, but I didn't get notified. So that's what's going on. It's a little bit silly, but it is what it is. So the more likes we can give content creators on their lives and the more we can share it with others, the better. So I really want to thank everybody for being here. I enjoy the dialogue. Hopefully you do too. And I couldn't do any of this without you all. So I appreciate it. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Stay safe and enjoy your night.